never do.
Well, this one is like.
Well, that's not true. I sometimes do, but most of the time I don't because that's what they want. Is they want attention.
Yeah, and I almost want to give this one attention.
What is he saying?
He just keeps calling me a coon and saying that I'm bad for the black people.
You know, yeah. There's some people get really. Yeah,
and it's like
especially those conversations around racism.
I'm not eliminating black porn. I'm just saying I'm eliminating that you have to label it. I'm just saying you should just be porn.
Don't worry, racist porn it will still exist. I'm not doing anything. It's still out there.
It's just I'm just saying.
You can still go. Go get your fucking racist porn out there.
It's still there.
It's not ending with me.
It's hilarious.
So text was sent. I'm just hoping that was.
It would be funny if he came in here.
I'm trying to get shit. Who you think you are talking to?
I'm not trying to trigger anybody right now. Just. Okay. So.
If he does that, I'm leaving it in the fucking show.
Yeah.
I'm leaving it in.
Download.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so is the mic okay place for you? It seems like it's a little bit over to the left. Yeah, that's great. Perfect. ASMR. Yeah, that's right. Okay.
Okay, let's see.
Let me know when you're ready.
Yeah, I just want to make sure the camera looks good.
No worries. Yes, put on your skinny filter.
Let's see.
Because we're both like dancing to music that is not out there. I have that Billie Eilish song stuck in my head.
Alright.
I thought his name was Billie English.
Oh, really? You know how old she is?
Like 18.
17.
Yeah. There was another girl that was super young that was really popular recently. Was it Lorde? Yeah, it was Lorde.
Yeah, she was also 17. I guess it's not that unusual though. Like Britney Spears got famous at like 16 or something, right?
Yeah.
God, what was I doing when I was 16? Smoking fucking bongos and cutting class and trying to get out of horseback riding. Wow, first world problems. That sounded really bad. My mom made me ride horses. Okay.
Cool.
All right, ready? Okay. Hey everybody, happy Wednesday. Welcome back to the show. Today I am very excited to have Ricky Johnson in the studio. Hi Ricky.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm great.
You have a lovely voice, by the way. Now that I'm hearing it amplified through the microphone, it's actually like really deep and like sexy and also kind of soothing.
I appreciate that. You're making me blush.
Do you ever do ASMR? I know we kind of mentioned it before we started.
No, but I'm willing to.
I think you should.
Yeah.
You have a great voice. You have a really good voice. Anyways, I always like to start the interview off with a little compliment,
Yeah,
unexpected compliment. So, Ricky, you are now is it a Brazzers contract star? Is that what you're officially named? I know you're part of like the whole Mind Geek family.
Yeah. Contract star, but it's all Mind Geek companies.
All the Mind Geek brands. So you just shot a couple of movies for Digital Playground, right?
Yes. I did a series called Word of Mouth. It's a 6-episode series that they're probably going to do another 6 episodes, which is pretty cool. And I play like a male escort.
Ooh.
So yeah, I have sex with the madame, and then she recommends me into like a whole bunch of other people. So each episode is a different person looking for sex.
Oh, wow. That's really cool.
Yeah.
And that's unusual, too, because usually it's like the flip side. It's like a female escort. So this is a little different.
Yeah.
So how is that role to play for you?
It's fun. I'm hoping that eventually people can call me up so I can join the escorting world. You know, like all the other girls.
I hear girls are making a lot of money.
I'm willing to do it as well.
Hear that, ladies? If you
Yes.
want a male gigolo, hit up Ricky.
I'm available.
He is available. He is also clean and tested.
Yes, it's a plus.
But he will only work with condoms because that's what responsible escorts do.
You should be my manager. Like, you're doing a good job
I
right now.
thank you. I will only take 15%.
Oh, that's perfect.
So, and then what was the other movie that you did?
Queen A,
Okay.
and that's a lot of anal, and that's with the Bella Danger, Whitney Wright, and Anna Fox, and Seth Gamble.
Oh, fantastic. And Bella's their new contract star as well.
Yes,
They
she
are
just
signing
recently-
girls left and right.
Yeah, yeah. I like
There's a
it.
couple new contract girls too that I know that I'm shooting for Twisties. I don't know if they've been officially announced yet, so I don't want to say who they are. But yeah, I've noticed that they're definitely like doing a lot of. I
Building
thought the
team.
contract star days were over, honestly, but that seems to.
History repeats itself.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. So do you like acting? Like, did you have a lot of experience in it before?
I took a theater arts class in high school,
Mm-hmm.
and so I do like acting. I like acting in roles that are different from my personality.
Mm-hmm.
Like in the beginning of porn, I used to always get a lot of nice guy roles, or like the brother or like the boyfriend,
Mm-hmm.
and then somebody else would get like the crazy angry role, and I was just like a gateway for that person to like really act.
Mm-hmm.
And so I like that. Now I'm getting more roles because I spoke to everybody, and I was like, I want some roles where I'm like angry, or I'm like mean, or I'm like a terrible person, like an evil guy. I want to play the evil person because it's fun that way.
Yeah.
You can showcase your acting skills that way.
Yeah. What do you think? What do you feel is like the best acting? Like what has been your best acting so far? Like what do you feel like has been the role that's most challenged you, and you feel that you fulfilled the best?
I would say the Word of Mouth series of
Mhm.
me playing like an escort, kind of.
Okay.
It's more like natural, just acting.
Right.
I've been super comfortable because I think all about acting is also about being comfortable.
Right.
If you're not comfortable, just like performing, then it's not going to really portray
Absolutely.
yourself well.
Yeah, I'm a horrible actress, like really bad. And it's funny because I will put myself in my scenes a lot of times as an extra. Like if it calls for like an older female extra, I'll put myself in because I don't want to pay somebody.
Yeah.
And I'm so bad. And I write, and like there'll be times that I'll write the script and I can't remember the lines that I wrote. So I can't really get mad at the performers when they can't remember their lines because I wrote the fucking script and I can't remember the lines.
Okay, yeah.
And it's just like, it's awful. I put myself in a scene, in a Naughty America scene with Derek Pierce and Lauren Phillips. And I was playing Derek Pierce's wife, and I was so awkward and uncomfortable with it. Like, I felt weird about like touching him. And like, I think for me, crossing that boundary between being a director and like I didn't perform in the scene, but you know what I mean? Like being a performer in the scene in a non-sex role is weird for me because I'm always kind of very careful about how I conduct myself around talent, and I don't touch them unnecessarily and stuff. I've always been that way.
Yeah, it made you uncomfortable a little bit.
Yeah, yeah,
So
it
you
did.
weren't comfortable.
And I know Derek really well, and like we're friends, and like, but I still, I'm terrible. So I just gotta say, like, props to people who can act and who can feel comfortable in front of the camera.
Yeah.
Because even though I coach people how to do that, and I have been doing that for 20 years, put me in front of the camera, and I'm like, yeah, so bad, so bad. So how did you get into porn? How long have you actually? First question: how long have you been in the industry?
3 years, going on 4 at the end of this year.
I was gonna say because you feel like kind of like I feel like you're a little bit new on the newer side.
Yeah. I think once you hit 5, it's like, all right,
You're established,
you've
right?
been
Right.
there.
So how did you start?
I was in college at Long Beach State, go 49ers, and then I was running track, and then I had got scammed out of like $2,000, and it's a terrible story. I might as well tell it. It's really embarrassing. I don't think I've ever really told it.
Tell it. Ooh, I like stories that nobody else has ever
like
told.
my girlfriend knows. Like people are really close to me, but like this is such an embarrassing story. So me and my friend Chris, we were on the track team, and I was pretty broke in college, and I had like $600 to my name, and rent was in like 2 days. And so we were going to our local pavilions, and these two guys who had the exact same name, which was a red flag there, but at the time I wasn't thinking. And they were like, "Oh, we have these speakers that like cost like $3,000, but we'll sell them to you for like pretty much whatever you have, and then you can like sell them and make the money back." And I was like, "Oh my god!" Like, and they spoke so fast and so confident that like it took us off guard, and they separated us, so like we couldn't really look at each other and like you know.
Wow.
They did a really good job. Thinking back on it, they were really good scammers. Because like, they separated us, they talked to us separately, and they got him, and then he got me because he was like, "Yeah, you should do it." And so I gave him like all I had pretty much.
Uh-huh.
And I should have just looked at my phone and Googled it, because after they left, I Googled it and it was like, oh, scam.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn. And then we went to the police and they pretty much laughed at us. They're like, you fell for that? And then I was like, damn, well, rent's like in 2 days and now I'm broke.
Yeah.
So, and then these speakers are useless. So it was pretty devastating. And that kind of just led me to like a little personal downward spiral.
Can I ask, like, how much were the speakers worth?
Probably like $200 if anything.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But I'm a different person now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, life is a journey,
Yeah,
and we learn things along the way.
experiences,
Exactly.
I needed that experience.
Exactly. Exactly.
But then I was in my training room and I was like, you know what? I want to try porn, because I've always like spoken like about porn, and no one was surprised of my friend group when I joined porn.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, let me look into it. So
you always enjoyed it.
yeah, I've always enjoyed porn. So for like 6 months, I looked and researched porn and agencies and like the way to do it. I looked up like YouTube, like other porn stars and like interviews and all these things like that, just to make sure I knew what I was getting into.
6 months.
Yeah, just because like
Wow.
you don't want to jump into something.
No,
without-
you don't. But I'm just surprised because so many people don't do any research and they just jump in and then they end up making terrible decisions.
Yeah.
So.
And so there was 4 agencies that I sent my pictures to, like front nude and back nude and a face shot, and then 2 got back to me, and one was Sandra at OC Modeling,
Right.
and the other was another agency, and so I went to meet with both agencies, and the first agency was just a little off-putting, because the guy was like on the phone and he was having a very serious argument, like cursing and stuff like that, and just like getting into whoever he was talking to. And I was like, oh, okay, this guy's a little, has an anger problem, or whatever. And then I just felt uncomfortable. So I was like, this might not be it. And then I talked to Sandra, and I don't know, it was very welcoming. And the fact that she was a woman, I felt like because she was a woman, she would care more about her male talent, as
Right.
opposed to a guy
Right.
giving a shit about my career.
Right.
So I was just like, it has to be Sandra.
Yeah.
And so we spoke again. I met in the office, and I just signed the contract, and then here I am.
So tell me, what was your first scene?
My first scene was a blow bang for Johnny Darko with Roxy Ray.
I feel like a lot of male talent, they always throw you into a group, because if you can't do it, then like it's like less of a loss.
Yeah.
If like one guy in a
bye.
yeah, if one guy in a blow bang like pulls out, it's like people aren't gonna really notice so much. If you're the only male talent, it's like I mean, obviously the whole scene is riding on you, literally.
My first 7 scenes were blow bangs and gangbangs.
Oh wow! And okay, so do you find that was easier because there was less pressure on just you because you were surrounded by other dudes who could kind of like, so it wasn't just focused on you, or was it more difficult because you were surrounded by other dudes?
It was more difficult, but towards the end, I found out it was easier because I was surrounded by other people. Like my mindset changed because like, oh wait, there's like 8 people here. Like,
yeah,
I don't have to do as much.
Yeah.
But in the beginning, it was just like, I'm trying to make a name for myself. So it's like, how do I make a name for myself amongst 7 other people?
Yeah.
Who are already established? How do I get on the rotation? How does this person notice me?
Yeah.
I have like, because we're not all going to fuck her for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
We're all going to fuck her for like 2 or 3.
Yeah.
So it's just like in that 2-3 minutes of me fucking her, what's going to be so special that they care to like bring me back?
Right.
For a one-on-one.
Right.
So it's just like, consistency pretty much.
Yeah.
Just.
Did you find it difficult to like have sex with a girl with like all that dick around you, or
a little bit, because it's also like testosterone, and the other guys also don't want you to succeed sometimes. So it's just like they'll do whatever they can. Like you might be fucking the girl, and then they'll like ram their dick in her throat and they'll like push you out. And there's little tricks that I found out people would do to just like make sure you fell.
Yeah, it's really interesting, like the dynamic that happens in a gangbang or a blow bang, and like the communication between the male talent. Like if you watch for that, so either you have a really harmonious scene where the guys are like communicating with each other kind of silently, and they're like, okay, your turn, I'm gonna go here, you're gonna go there, like making sure that they keep it open for the camera and that kind of thing. Or you have like, a little bit of competition where guys are kind of pushing each other out of the way or like taking up too much time. So it's an interesting like social dynamic, and it can vary depending on who's in the scene.
Yeah, it for a good gangbang, I would say it depends on if the other guys get along together.
Yeah, exactly. I had Lisa Ann on the podcast, and we talked about, the couple of gangbangs that she organized, and she said, there's so many elements that go into like booking and producing like a great gangbang, and one of the most important things is making sure all the guys get along. Like that's the most important thing.
Yeah, I agree.
Even less so than like if the girl gets along with the guy, more so like if the guys all like get along with each other. That's like really important, and I think that's so true.
Because if you have a guy that's uncomfortable or like hates the other guy, then
Yeah.
he's not all there.
Yeah.
He's like somewhat focusing on the other guy. Like, I don't like this guy. Why am
For
I here?
sure. Yeah, when we book gangbangs, well, I don't really hardly ever shoot them, but usually like the guys want to know who the other guys are because you can't put certain guys together, and it's like, yeah, it's a whole thing. It's really
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
So, okay, so you did, a couple of blow bangs, couple of gangbangs, and then what was your first one-on-one scene?
It was for Babes with Cassidy Klein.
And how was that?
It was great. I loved it.
Yeah.
It was like a 50-minute scene.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So did you go in there confident and feeling like, okay, I got this, I've demonstrated that I can perform in these other scenes, or were you nervous because now the pressure's all on you?
I was super nervous and also just excited for the opportunity to like just have sex with just the focus of one person.
Mm-hmm. What was your mindset coming into porn? Were you thinking like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to make some money, and I'm going to move on? Or did you come into it with like a thinking like, this is going to be my career, I'm going to like carve a niche for myself, and I'm going to be in this for a while?
Be in this for a while and carve a niche for myself. But I wanted to be a director and produce was always my main goal.
Okay.
And so I thought, well, if I perform and make a name for myself performing, that'll be my gateway into getting to directing and producing. That's the route I wanted to take. And that's the route I am taking. And so far, everything's working exactly how I wanted to work.
I find that performers often make great directors and producers because they understand what it's like to be in front of the camera. They kind of understand the mentality of the performers, and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's a great like segue there because myself, I've never performed, so even though I try to imagine what the performers are going through, and I try to sympathize and empathize and make sure that I know what their mindset is, I don't really know.
Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes that's like a little bit of a disadvantage.
But you also have the advantage of like just other advantages by not performing as well. So it's just like it's good both ways.
I have a question for you, and this is kind of like super random, but I was thinking this the other day when I was working with some guys, and this is actually for my own benefit. But like, say you're I don't know if you want to say struggling, but you need like some time to get your edge. And by the way, for those of you listening who don't know what it means, because I find that a lot of times we fall into industry speak and I don't explain what we're talking about. Getting your edge means basically getting like your dick super hard, like getting it, like not having it kind of floppy, and just getting like being ready to go.
Yeah.
When you're doing that, do you find it's better if the crew's like totally quiet? Or do you prefer if the crew acts kind of normal and like kind of chats in the background like they normally do? Because sometimes like I feel like I need to tell my crew to shut up because I don't know if it's distracting. But then sometimes if it's dead silent, is that worse because you're like it's so quiet?
I would say everybody act normal.
Okay. Okay. That's that. I asked a couple of guys that, and I think so far everyone's been like, yeah, I prefer that like people just keep doing what they're doing because I don't know. I've been shooting more boy girl lately than I normally do. I normally shoot just girl, and I've had a couple instances where guys needed some time, and I'm like, do I tell everyone to shut up? Do I like keep it the same? Like, what do I do? Like,
I remember I was doing one scene and the director had cut before the pop, and then it was on me, and I was like, all right, okay, cool. But then you start talking about like Trump and some other stuff like politics and some other like really interesting subjects. I was like, hey, can you guys just like stop talking about that? Talk about anything you want, but just like not something that I can listen in and focus on.
Yeah, not Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
Don't start talking
then
about
I'll be
Game of
like, all right,
Thrones.
wait, can I join this conversation first?
Wait, no, but see, I think that Bran is blah, blah.
And then for 30 minutes we're talking. I'm like, oh shit, we got a pop.
Have you ever had a scene that you've like really struggled in?
Yeah, when the first year there was two that were like.
Did you ever have to call it?
Call it two that I called that were called, and I felt like shit.
Of course,
but like that feeling, like is a feeling that I can't replicate. It's you have the feeling like, is this for me? Can I? Is this gonna happen forever now?
Yeah,
like, because you think like, okay, this happened. It happens to everybody.
Yeah,
but is it gonna happen again? And it's just like, now you're like, this is my career. What do I do?
Yeah, and it's so mental.
Yeah, it's so mental.
So you get stuck in that mind fuck,
So
and
mental.
you're just like...
And until you have another scene, you're going to feel like that.
Yeah. Someone said to me, like, what made you decide to call the scene? Because I had Small Hands on the podcast, and he said that Joanna told him when he first started, and actually I was like, this makes sense, and I don't know why I never thought about it. You have like 20 minutes, I think, to try to either get hard or pop whatever needs to be done. After that, you need to call it, because then it's just disrespectful to the crew because they got to find somebody else.
True.
Yeah. So is that about like a good time frame for you?
Well, it depends on the situation, because both situations were completely different. The first one was it was an anal scene, and it couldn't fit. Like, it wasn't. We tried for like hour, and it was getting to the point where I was like, okay, it's not gonna happen.
Your dick was just too big for her ass.
Yeah, and so we're like, okay, we'll turn it into a vagina scene. And by that time, then I started to struggle a little bit, and it was just like, we're gonna have to call it.
Yeah.
So,
yikes.
and then the second one was like a scene at like 10 p.m. and I just got out of the gym, and they're like, hey, can you work right now? I was like, fuck, yeah, all right. And then we went, and it just wasn't that good.
Yeah, I worked with a guy who really struggled a few weeks ago, and he told me afterwards, he apologized. I mean, we were able to finish the scene, but he apologized and said, he's like, I shouldn't have done legs today. Because I guess, like, all your blood then goes to those muscles.
Yeah.
And not to your penis.
Yeah.
Which is where you need it to go. So you think that that's probably what it was?
Yeah, also mental. It's also definitely mental as well.
Yeah.
Because then you put that in your mind, I did legs today. And it's like, oh, this is the reason why this is happening. So
yeah. How do you prepare for a scene?
I have different routines. Because in track, there's always preparation. So I've kind of, like, brought that into, like, porn.
I love that. I love that you brought, like, your athletic training into porn. Because porn really is, especially for the guys, it really is, like, an athletic feat.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys fuck for a very long period of time.
Yeah.
And it's exhausting for me just watching you. I mean, I'm like 10 minutes in the bedroom, and I'm like, you want me to do reverse cowgirl? Go fuck yourself. That's basically asking me to do squats. There's no reason for me to do that. Like, that's not happening.
I drink a lot of liquid water, like, the day before and the day of the scene. And I go to, like, if I have a afternoon scene, I would go to California Kitchen Cafe and get, like, a specific meal. If
really?
It's like
is it like high in protein or something like that?
Yeah, it's like 2 chicken breasts, chicken pasta, some broccoli, fruits, and pita bread.
Okay.
Some Gatorade. And I just, like, I don't know. It's just, if I do something and I'm like, oh, I had a really good scene that day, I'll just continue to do that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Over and over and over and over
Yeah, that
again.
makes sense.
Like, I drink Pedialyte before every scene as well.
Okay.
Because it hydrates you a little extra if you're, like, a little dehydrated.
Right.
And then I was going to, like, also this smoothie place. There's, like, a little different things that I've tried over the years. But I stick to just Pedialyte liquids and eating really healthy the day before. And I'm trying to just do that naturally, so I'm just always like,
Yeah.
It takes time.
So do you find that I think we talked about this a little bit earlier before we actually started the podcast. Do you find that being in the industry now for a period of time makes it easier for you to do your scenes, or is it almost more challenging in a different way because it's kind of the excitement is worn off?
A little bit of both. The scenes are easier, but at the same time, the excitement has worn off a little bit. I'm not like, oh my god, yay! I want to fuck everybody. I want to fuck everybody.
Yeah.
Now it's just like, okay, I have different goals, so it's like I'm not tired of it, but sometimes you may get a little jaded.
Yeah, totally. What do you do when you show up to a scene and like you and the girl just don't vibe, or you're just not attracted to her?
I get in my mental, and those are the rough days because like afterwards, you have to get out of that mental because like you go so deep in your head.
Yeah.
And it's just like you develops like a personality issue because you had to like really get in your head.
Yeah.
And force yourself to be pleased by something you're not pleased by.
Yeah.
And so if you do that enough times, it'll really fuck you up. I've done that a good amount of times.
Yeah.
But like I can understand somebody doing that a lot can really just fuck you up.
Yeah. I get really pissed sometimes when the girls are just like not helpful at all. And they're, and they'll say something like, oh, well, it's his job to get hard. And it's like, well, we're all here together to work towards a common goal, which is to do a good scene and to get paid and to go home at a decent time. So like, if you could maybe be a little bit flirty or seem like a little bit excited about your scene, that would be good.
Have sex. Like, act like you like him a little bit.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I like to go into every scene that the person doesn't like. There's no expectations. Like I never want to go into a scene expecting like, oh, she's gonna do this. I want to go in like, it's just for like she has she's a fiance and she doesn't even want to touch me when everything's called cut. Like I go into every scene like that.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to expect stuff like that.
Right.
I have friends that did, and they're like, "Oh, she didn't touch me." And I was like, "Oh, well, you expected her to." So that's why your mind went another route.
Yeah. Yeah. That's totally true. So I also one thing I definitely need to ask you about, and this was something that one of my Patreon members asked. What is up with you and Xander's like back and forth lip sync battle and on Twitter? And if you guys haven't seen it, you need to go see it. Go to Ricky is Year of the Ricky, and then Xander's is something weird. I forgot, but just go to Ricky's and because that's easy to remember and find this like back and forth thread of like it's so funny. So what started that whole thing?
I was in Vegas for a couple shoots, and I was just like, because me and Xander have like an interesting friendship where we'll just like text or just like if we think about each other, we'll just like, hey, or something like that. Because at Brazzers' house like a year ago, we had this dance, and we just like whenever we saw each other, we just danced, and they recorded. We danced for like 10 minutes, just until the other person tired out. And so just whenever we see each other, we start dancing.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. So I was on the toilet, and then there's like this new Whoa challenge or something where you like make a signal and you send it to a friend and they do it back. And so I was on the toilet and I was just like, oh, let me send this to Xander. And so I did a little dance move and sent it to him.
I like how you were on the toilet when you did that. You're like, so I was taking a shit. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to send this text to film myself and send it to my male friend.
See, porn allows you to be like open. Just
I know, right? It really does like push those, like that line that most people draw for their boundaries. It pushes it a little bit further.
My non-porn friends would be like, yo, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, right.
Why are you, like, you're on the toilet, dog, stop. But I sent it to Xander, and he didn't reply for like a good amount of time. Where I was like, "Hey, did you get my message?" And then he sent one back, and I didn't reply. He was like, "Yo, are you gonna call me out and not reply?"
Yeah.
And then I was like, "All right." Then so I did a little dance battle, and then he sent one. But he had the liberty of being at his home, so like he had more to like he can include things. But I was just stuck. I was
like
stuck
props.
in the hotel. Yeah.
He's like Carrot Top.
He started bringing props. He had like a mask and other stuff, and I was like, "Damn, he's bringing it right now." And all I had was like the hotel and the shower. So I was like, all right, let me just go in the shower or something, or just I don't know what to do. I have little to use. So we just went back and forth.
Oh God, yeah, it was really cute. I love that, and I love too like seeing that kind of camaraderie between like male performers because I feel like sometimes there's a lot of guys that feel very competitive, but I feel like must be like a connection too because you guys have like a difficult job and it's something that a lot of people are not capable of doing.
Yeah.
So, what do you say to guys? Because I know that, I get these messages on Twitter and Instagram all the time of guys wanting to get in porn and like everybody thinks it's so easy. And, I have a big dick or I like to have sex and like, so, I can do porn and it is absolutely not easy. And I had an experience, I had a show on Playboy TV called Adult Film School and we filmed amateur couples, like people specifically who'd never had sex on camera before. And the fail rate of the guys was so high. Understandably so, because most guys can't do this. It's a strange job to have. It's different than just having sex in front of people. Because people think like, oh, I've been to sex parties, and I've had sex in front of other people, so this will be easy. But having sex on a set, on a professional set, is a totally different experience. So what do you like? How do you feel about like when guys ask you how to get into porn or like think that it's so easy?
It's like you don't ask a basketball player how to join the NBA. Like you know.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you really want to do something, then like you'll figure it out in a sense.
I mean, you figured it out.
Yeah, and I think most other male talent in the industry they found a way to figure it out. So I think if you really want to do it, there's a certain way you'll ask. Like there's certain questions that you'll ask. But like mostly it's like, oh, like put me on, like let me like how do I join porn, like help me out, like get me booked with these people, and just like I have no idea who you are.
Yeah.
Like why would I like put you out there and like it's on my name that this person's great.
Yeah.
And then if you fell and cost them money, then they look at me like, oh, you cost us thousands of dollars.
Yeah, and especially since no joke, like 75% of them, if not more, are like from Morocco or India, and they're like, hey, ma'am, please fly me out from Morocco to shoot porn. I'm like, okay, dude, yeah, sure, no problem.
Like no.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you?
Yeah. What was the one misconception that you feel that you had about porn, which changed for you when you came into porn? Like, was there anything that you thought about porn that you found not to be true?
I don't want to kill the fantasy for people though, but there's some parts.
This show's all about killing the fantasy for
cool.
people.
Okay,
Are
cool.
you kidding me?
There was one director I worked for that she would tell the girl to come like every 2 seconds, like come right now, and like she definitely wasn't coming, like she was just faking it.
Yeah.
And for me, that was just so hard on my mental because it was just
Mm-hmm.
like that was just like for her type of scene, she wanted the girl to like to
Mm-hmm.
look if she was coming. And I was just like,
Mhm.
oh my! Every second she's like, oh come right now, and the girl be like, oh I'm coming.
Mhm.
I'm like, oh you're really not coming though. And it's just like for me, it's just like I like the passion of like pleasure.
You like it to be authentic.
Yeah, and
Okay.
that was just like the most unauthentic thing I've ever experienced. And
Yeah.
it really fucked me up because like
Really?
yo, like it's just like it's
Dude,
just so
girls
fake.
coming all the time.
No, I know, I understand, but like not to that extent. I was just like,
Yeah.
yo, please, like, okay.
It was like a little too much.
It was a little too much. And
Was she trying to create like feminist porn where it was like about the woman's pleasure?
I think so.
Okay.
I'm not knocking. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
it's just,
yeah.
It threw me aloof a little.
Because
bit.
you wanted to like give her that orgasm authentically.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
like at this point, I didn't know where it was in there.
Yeah.
Maybe one of those were mine. But
Yeah.
The other 80 were like,
Right. Yeah, I mean, some girl, and every girl's different. Like some girls are easily orgasmic. Like Kiss of Sins, like
yeah,
comes constantly.
Yeah.
I mean, when I shot her, I remember the first time I shot her, she even told me, she was like, look, she's like, if you want to do any standing positions, like doggy, she's like, we should do that first because my legs will be like jelly by middle of the scene. She's like, because I would have come so much that I can't stand anymore. And I was like, I'm so jealous of you. That is so unfair because I can't come from penetration.
Oh, really?
Nope. Never have in my life. Not possible.
Not possible?
Not possible.
Anything's possible.
I'm 40. I've tried. We've tried. We've tried a lot of things. It just makes me feel like I gotta pee. That's the closest you can get
then
me.
Pee.
No, I don't want to pee.
Maybe that's what it is. 'Cause
No.
I've heard girls say that like, oh, I feel like I'm gonna go pee, and then see what happens.
I try. I can't.
It can happen. It's there.
I don't know. No.
I'm intrigued. We'll talk about that later. We'll come back to that.
Oh my God. So you are actually dating somebody in porn.
Yes.
You're dating. Can you say who it is?
Kendra Spade.
Awesome. I have a shoot that I'm trying to book with her for the future. I've never worked with her before though.
She's amazing. She's really cool.
Yeah.
I like her a lot.
That would be really funny though if you were like, oh, she's terrible to book her, but she's my girlfriend.
I should.
I've heard good things about her, so
Yeah.
I'm sure she'll be wonderful.
Yeah, she's gonna be the next big thing.
Yeah. How'd you guys start dating?
Oh, intriguing. All right, so we met at like AVN like 2 years ago, or was it a year ago? No, 2
Mhm.
years ago. And then I saw her, and I was drunk, and I called her somebody else's name. And like the next
Oh,
3 times I
no.
saw her, I called her somebody else's name.
No.
And then she's like, "You keep calling me somebody else's name," and I was like, "I'm sorry." But like I always thought she was really cute, and I
Yeah.
wanted to get to know her. And then we were at this 4th of July party for like Jules Jordan last year.
Uh-huh.
And then we were sitting, hanging out, and chatting, and having a good time. She was like, "Hey, by the way, we're not having sex today." And I was like, I'm not trying to have sex with you. I'm just trying to get to know you. And it caught me. I was like, oh, that's so like
Yeah.
strong of you to say that.
Yeah.
But it was intriguing. I was like, I want to get to know her more.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
her to say
She
that.
presented a challenge.
Yeah, and I was just like, she did, but I really wasn't trying to have sex with her. I just wanted to get to know her. But
Yeah.
by her saying that, I was just like, what?
Yeah.
I was like, all right, I'm gonna get to know you. And then
Challenge accepted. We're gonna get to know each other.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask you questions. I'm gonna listen.
and so we just like hung out more and more and more. And then eventually, March, we became boyfriend and girlfriend.
Oh, that's so cute. So, do you find that so since you've been working in the adult industry, have you dated anybody outside of the industry?
Oh yes. My first year, I dated a civilian.
And how was that?
It was terrible, but I understand now. At the time, I didn't understand, but now I understand
Right.
because it was really hard for her when I went to work
Yeah.
because it was hard for her to understand the
Yeah.
dynamic of me fucking somebody else
Yes.
and her not,
Yes.
and me just being like it's just work.
Right.
When in a sense, you can literally go to work and it just be work.
Yeah.
but I can understand somebody not understanding that
Right.
because they're not part of it.
Did you guys have an open relationship at all in any way?
No,
Oh, okay. So like there wasn't even any swinging involved or any.
no,
Yeah.
no.
So that would
might
make
have
it
helped
even.
it, yeah. But it was just
Yeah.
like, but she would gaslight me. She would say things. It was just good for my mental because I think it helped me out in future porn because like she would say some shit like right before like sex deals I'd be texting her. She'd be like, "Oh, I'm doing something right now. You're not gonna like it." I'm like, "What?" And it's like, "All right, time for sex deals." I'm like, "What is she doing?" And
Yeah.
it's just like so my head was just like always in and out, and it was
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
I had to get out of that. But I understood because like then I dated Keisha Gray,
Okay.
and she was a very popular performer. She worked a lot all the time, and there was some like envy and jealousy when she worked. Like she would do a gangbang, and I would feel some type of way, and I kind of get it, even though it's just work. It's like when you really truly love somebody, you don't necessarily want them to fuck other people.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting.
I understand and get it. Like I support. It's like I support Kendra,
Yeah.
but like at the same time, like you're not gonna be giddy
Yeah.
if someone like blew her back out and she came and best time of my life. I'm like yeah, I'm happy for you, but like
So do you feel like a sense of competition sometimes with like people that she's working with?
I wouldn't call it competition. I do me. I just try to be the best person I could be for her. I'm sure she's the best person she can be for me, and
Right.
focus on our relationship. Like we're together, so that's all that matters.
Right. But you guys do like deal with a little bit of jealousy, maybe sometimes here and there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see how it's complicated because it's like, I mean, sex is one of those things, sex can just be sex, but sex is also like, the most intimate thing two people can do
like
together.
if you're having a really intimate time and it's now your significant other.
Yeah.
Oh man.
What's interesting? I don't want to name him because I don't want to like throw his girl under the bus. They're not together anymore, but there's a very popular male performer who I've used a lot. And I booked him for a scene and he canceled on me like last minute. And I could tell like from him, his voice, because he called me, that like there wasn't like it wasn't the reason that he said it was. And the strange thing was is that the girl that he was with was somebody who she was no longer a porn star, but she had been a porn star in the past. We had shot her a lot. We had a great relationship with her. She actually like had a good relationship with my mom. She like rode horses with my mom for a bit. So I was like, so when I finally kind of like, anyways, sometime later after they'd broken up, I asked him and I was like, what's up with that one time that you canceled on me? Because I feel like it was not like what you said it was. And he told me that she had made him cancel the scene, which I didn't understand because like we were cool with her, like there was no issues and he was still doing boy-girl scenes with plenty of other companies. And she told me, or she told him, and he told me that it was because our scenes tend to be more intimate and romantic. So it wasn't like some crazy like gonzo scene where the guy's like throat fucking her until like she's her eyes or tears are running down her face and like blowing out her ass and like really hardcore rough. Like our scenes tend to be more intimate, a lot of kissing, very romantic. So to her it felt too intimate.
Yeah.
She didn't want him to do that kind of scene. She was okay with him doing scenes where like he was fucking the girl like she was a piece of meat, but not where like there was like real passion involved. And that was weird to me, but I get it. But like, I was very surprised by that.
You can find somebody that you like a lot from porn, from a scene. I believe I dated Keisha from we did a scene and it was a really good scene and we started talking from there. We became a relationship. So like, I can understand where you can work with somebody and there could be a seed there where like maybe me and Kendra don't work out and then she remembers, I'm really like. Me and this other guy, we hit it off well. We have like 10 great scenes. Let me hit him up. Like that's a possibility.
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
for me. Like if me and her, there might be somebody like, me and her, we have a great time. So like, it's there, but you just can't focus on that. You just gotta focus on your relationship.
Yeah.
Whatever happens in the future.
So do you think it's easier to date somebody in the industry?
I still think it's in the sense easier because like you can find common ground and communication is super important.
Yeah.
Like, me and her communicated a lot, which in my past relationships, to my own fault, I didn't communicate enough.
Right.
So we both communicate our feelings, and it just makes everything a little bit easier.
Right.
Because like I don't want to I want her to have the best career possible. I want her to be the best Kendra Spade she can be, and I want to be the best Ricky I can be. So I'm never gonna not allow her or put a no list for her. Like whatever she wants to do, she should do. Right. And same for me.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna take a quick break to hear from our sponsors, and then we'll be right back.
Cool.
I forgot to tell you that. I'm gonna pee super fast.
Oh, cool. I need to pee as well.
Oh, yay! Okay. So we'll be back, and then we'll pick it back up. Okay. Here, I gotta give you the key. Are you leaving?
Thank you.
You really are. I don't feel like I have to like work really hard to pull stuff out of you.
I'm an open book.
Yeah, no, it's great.
You guys are sounding great, by the way.
Thank you.
Flowing really good.
Yeah, I feel like that too.
Let me know when you're ready to go.
Okay. Everything's still live, right?
I just have to press the record button.
Okay.
Hey,
Hi.
I'm back. Yeah,
Say that again.
I'm back. I love this.
You should totally do ASMR.
Nah, I'm looking into it.
You should. You
Yeah.
should. You have a great voice for it. Okay. Let me know when you're ready. Good? Okay, perfect. Okay, we are. Sorry, let me try that again. Mike's get away from me. Okay, we are back with Ricky Johnson. And Ricky, my next question for you is, how do you feel about the label of interracial porn and what some would say is the wow, Holly, way to go to sound really fucking smart. You can't even talk. The fetishization of black men in porn. I still feel like I said that wrong.
I'm not gonna say that word because I saw you struggling. I know I'm gonna struggle.
I've said this word a million times, and all of a sudden, like, it's not rolling off my tongue. Well, I'm really glad that I entered this serious topic, like, fucking just like tongue-tied. It was like, ooh, way to go, Barbara Walters. Okay, sorry. Anyways, you understood my question.
Yes. It's a very interesting dynamic because a lot of my work in the beginning was based on fetish porn and me being black is an importance to the scene.
Right.
And so if I was to be like, oh, I'm not going to shoot this because I'm labeled as like an African American, I honestly wouldn't get any work. So
Yeah.
I can't knock that it has allowed me to get to the position I am now. But at the same time, I don't really think it's a great way to. It's something that should always continue because it will keep African Americans at a certain place because porn is somewhat a representation of society, and a lot of people look at porn like billions of people, and if people are looking at porn as like, oh, black people, as opposed to just people, then in their mind subconsciously they might look at black people a certain type of way.
Yeah.
Because if in scenes they're looked upon as like, oh, a certain kind of like stereotype, then that stereotype
It perpetuates the stereotype.
It will continue forever. Yeah. So like I understand there are some companies that make a lot of money off of it, but at the same time, like if I wanted for African American community, if I want to do my part, I would not be a part of that.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting because when I've had, performers on, like African American performers, and I've asked them that question, the guys specifically, like I know that it's a difficult question for them to answer. I think you're in kind of a different place now, like being a contract star.
I can talk my shit.
Yeah, because I know that like it's difficult because it's like you don't want to say like, oh yeah, fuck IR porn, because that is a majority of the work that they're being hired for, and so they don't want to speak badly of the companies that are paying their fucking bills.
100%.
So you have to be careful, but it's like but then I can also see that there's like this kind of like they're not too stoked on it.
Yeah.
So it's a hard question for people to answer, and I understand that.
I 100%, like I understand there's a lot of people who are in positions that if they were to speak up on it, they would maybe lose work, and I totally get it.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I'm in a position where I feel like I can speak on it and it won't affect my work.
Yeah, because it's from what I understand, you're the first African American contract star for Brazzers.
Yeah.
And you were saying that they haven't like put you in that IR label, like they're not like putting you solely in scenes that would stereotype a black man.
Yeah, I'm not black stepbrother, black this. Like I've always like I hate to be in a scene where it's like Kendra Spade and BBC. Like I wouldn't like Kendra Spade and Ricky Johnson.
Yeah.
That's the type of scene I want to be in.
Yeah, like where you don't have a name, your name is BBC.
Where I'm just Dick. Well, I understand I'm just Dick, but like I like. Why just like, oh, you're a black person? Like,
yeah,
it's important that you're black to this.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, again, because we're falling into industry speak, BBC is not the British Broadcasting Channel. It is Big Black Cock, and it is an acronym that we frequently use in the adult industry. And it's a very searchable, taggable.
It is hilarious when I see BBC. I'm like, oh shit, this isn't Big Black Cock.
Yeah. Or do you ever hear people say like, oh, I worked as a DP on that show, meaning director of photography, not meaning double penetration?
That also got me. I'm like, yo, I've been doing porn too long.
Yeah. Like, or I got to go to the ATM to get cash out. Oh, not ass to mouth.
See, that hasn't got me yet. Ass to mouth is. I'm
ass
still
to mouth
good
is
at
not.
ATM.
you know, it's not as big of a thing, I feel like, as it used to be. Like, it used to be, there was a lot of like ass to mouth movies, and I don't know why. I don't know if people just don't like it's the term isn't used that much anymore because it's not as dirty as it used to be because it was kind of a new thing, or like people aren't doing that much ass to mouth. I don't know, but I feel like there used to be more ass to mouth
Yeah.
in porn than there is
Bring
now.
back ass to mouth.
back ass
That we're
to
doing here, yeah.
I am personally not into the ass to mouth thing. That to me is like
That might be what happened. People were doing ass to mouth and they were getting dookie in their mouth.
Yeah,
enough
well,
times.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
that's what happens.
Like,
You got
oh,
fecal. It doesn't matter
tastes
how
like
well you
shit.
clean your ass out. You're gonna have fecal matter on your penis, and you're gonna be putting it in your back of your mouth. That's just science,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Some people find that to be sexy or hot. I don't know. There's a lot of interesting.
I don't knock anybody's kink. In
Exactly.
Porn. I found
We are
out
not.
there's a lot of kink.
We are not allowed to kink shame anymore. That is a thing.
Yeah.
So, God, we went off on a fucking tangent. So, have you ever? I mean, so before you got this contract, were you ever cast in a role where like you felt really frustrated by that, or you felt like very stereotyped? It was uncomfortable for you to do.
A couple times, but I held my tongue and I worked, but it's kind of like it sucks because it's like damn, like because I would talk to my roommate about it. And It's just like, am I a sellout? Because it's like I'm just doing this, but this is not something I believe in. So it's just like my thing is a lot of people talk about change, but not enough people put themselves in a position to change.
Right, or put themselves in a position where they have to choose between getting a paycheck and being able to cover their rent, or being like a social justice warrior.
Yeah.
It's like, and are we really in porn because we're here because we want to change the world and we want to like, like make a difference? I mean, yes, there is some of that, but then there's also some of it is like we're just trying to like make a living.
Yeah, like, and I kind of want to put myself in a position to where I can change things.
Yeah.
So that's my goal, and I feel like if I'm doing that, then I should be able to speak on it.
Right.
But like if you're just following along, then it's just like what are you doing to help?
Yeah, I mean, if you're lucky enough to be in a position where you can speak out and you can kind of call attention to the fact that there's some discussion to be had around the whole like interracial fetish.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you know this, but like it doesn't really exist in Europe. It's like an American thing. Like there's no IR rate in Europe.
I was talking to Karen Lee about it. He was like, "This is so crazy to me
Yeah.
because like where I'm from, it's just people."
It's not a thing. It's not a thing. But also too, like interracial relationships aren't viewed in the same way in Europe as they are in America.
Yeah.
Like we're still so inherently racist.
But it's gonna take a generation.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
gonna
if you
take
think
a
about
long
it, the
time.
civil rights movement was only in the 1960s.
Yeah,
wasn't that long
It
ago
wasn't that long ago.
that black people had no rights.
Yeah, which is crazy.
It's nuts.
So we've came a long way, and it's just like we're like, oh, we're almost there. We want it now, but it's honestly gonna take a long time. But it still needs a little bit of like a push.
Yeah, I feel like it's definitely changing though. I mean, I've been in the industry for 20 years, and the discussion around IR porn and IR rates is something that's really starting to take flight now. So, if those of you who've listened to my podcast a lot, that you know this, but for those of you who haven't, so first of all, sorry, IR means interracial, just in case that wasn't clear to you. But a lot of women in the adult industry charge a higher rate to do an IR scene, an interracial scene.
Yeah.
They charge more money to work with a black man, and a lot of times they won't do interracial scenes until they get offered some like big rate to do like something for Blacked or whatever.
Yeah, they'll wait like a year and a half.
They'll wait, yeah. So it's like one of the pieces of advice often that would be given to girls is when you come into the industry, wait on doing like the big scenes like anal, gangbang, interracial.
Yeah.
Those are like the things that like you should wait on because you should get a higher rate and you should build anticipation and all that stuff. And that used to be like a normal thing. Like nobody would question the fact that girls were being paid more or would like wait to work with a black man. Like it's just
back in the day, it was like the last thing you do was work with a black person.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, your career's
yeah.
towards the end.
And some women wouldn't do it, not because they personally didn't want to, was because like it would hurt their career. Their fans would get mad.
Like, oh, you fucked a black person, I'm done.
Right? Which like, and only now in this kind of like woke era that we're in are people finally seeing like, whoa, wait a minute, there's something like seriously fucking wrong with that.
Cool.
And girls are finally starting to say like, hey, it's not really right for us to charge more money to work with a black man. Like,
Yeah.
if you want to, like, okay, so then sometimes there's the argument, well, like, black men have bigger dicks. So charge a big dick rate.
Yeah, I have a friend, a
'Cause
close
there's-
friend of mine is like,
There's
it should be a big dick rate.
big dick rate, because there are some white guys too with fucking huge dicks. And
Yeah.
I get it. Like, a larger penis takes a bigger toll on your body. It's harder to work with, especially if you're small.
You can get torn.
You can get torn. Like, I get
cervix
that.
Issues.
But
yeah,
then there needs to be a big dick rate.
I'm down for that.
A
I'd much rather a big dick rate.
BD.
BDR.
BDR. Big dick rate.
Big dick rate. But no shade towards Black or Lansky or any of his things.
No.
Because I understand, like, he's doing what he's an amazing marketer.
And look, if anything, honestly, like, what Lansky has done is taken interracial porn and made it beautiful.
Yes.
And brought it to, like, the next level and made more girls want to do it because it's being portrayed. And I mean, it's beautifully shot. It looks great. And it's almost like, to me, like, these pictures that he shoots, you know, when he would shoot, like, the girl and the guy next to each other, like, often what I would think was the beauty, how beautiful the difference in the skin tones were. Just the contrast, like, photographically.
It's open to discussion because that's helped, because a lot of the things that people were mad about was, like, Black porn was, like, too rough, and there was no prettiness to, like, Black porn. So
Yeah.
that opened the discussion, like, oh, okay, Black porn can be, like, portrayed in a nice way.
Beautiful.
It just
Yeah.
needs more of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, yeah, definitely no, like, shade to him on that at all. I mean, he saw a market, he went for it, and he elevated it, to be
Yeah.
honest. And I mean, I don't, again, like, we talked about, like, kink shaming and stuff like that. I don't think that people shouldn't, like, maybe enjoy interracial porn, right? I mean, do
Yeah.
you think that that's something that should be gone, or maybe it's just something that people shouldn't charge more for? It shouldn't be, like, people shouldn't be, like, Black performers shouldn't be so pigeonholed into that.
Yeah, it sucks that, like, you to not be able to work with somebody because you're Black.
Mm-hmm.
It shouldn't be a thing.
Right.
Like, I can understand if you just don't want to work with me, but because I'm Black,
Yeah.
is what I have a problem with.
Right.
Because
Right. Right.
I was on a couple orgies before where there was, like, two girls who were, like, not working with Black people, and it was just like, it was a really hard orgy.
So you, like, oh God, that's so awkward.
Because it was like, and that was hard for my mental, because
Yeah.
there was 5 girls, and 2 of them I couldn't touch,
Oh.
and it was just like the other 3 were, like, occupied.
Right.
So there was moments where I was right next to a girl who I couldn't touch, and it was just like, what do I do in this
Wow.
moment besides just jerk my dick until there's an opening? And
Yeah.
I'm just like,
I mean,
waiting. Okay, she's open. I can go over there.
I mean, talk about, like, like, an incredibly, like, open example of, like, racism, really.
Yeah, and it's like, I didn't
Right?
want to be a part of that scene. I was like,
Yeah.
I'd rather not be here.
Yeah, that's so awkward.
So, but it's just like, and that's happened a couple times.
Yeah.
For every orgy, there's at least one girl you can't work with. And it's just like, I get it, I understand, but it's just like, if there's a way for that to stop, that'd be cool. But I
Yeah.
tell you, if you just don't want to work with me, I'm okay with that.
Right. Right. Right.
But
Right.
if it's because I'm Black, then it's just like, oh, that kind of sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of awkward. I mean, but then again, like, girls, you know, should be able to decide whoever they want to work
No,
with.
100%.
So it's, yeah, that's when the conversation, I guess, becomes, like, super uncomfortable, right?
Yeah. It's a very touchy subject,
Yeah.
and it's hard. It's something that's going to be around for a while. It's
Right.
not something. It's not a next day fix.
Right.
It's just a time. It's a time thing.
Right. 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 Well, I appreciate you talking about it, because it is something that comes up a lot, and it is a touchy subject.
Yeah.
And a lot of people get. You were actually saying that you got some blowback on social media about
Yeah.
it, right?
Just today, I tweeted, like, shout out to, like, the companies that I've been working with, the contract companies that
Mm-hmm.
don't label me as interracial and it's just a scene. You know, like, I play a janitor, not a Black janitor. Like, I can play a stepson, like, not a Black stepson. You know?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just a scene. It's
Yeah.
kind of cool to be, like, doing scenes just like everybody else.
Just to be a human being like everybody else.
Yeah. And then somebody was like, "Oh, you're a coon. Like, you're trying to get rid of IR." And it's just like, no, it's still gonna be there.
Yeah.
Black people are still gonna have sex with non-Black people,
Yeah.
and then
And it'll still be
it'll
labeled
still be
IR.
a scene. Yeah, it'll still
Yeah.
be labeled IR. I'm just saying, like,
As long as people are searching for that label, it'll still be tagged that way.
yeah,
Because it's all about, like, supply and demand. As long as people are, like, buying that stuff, people are gonna keep producing
yeah,
it.
it's just a slow thing where it's like, it's not the title of the scene. That's all. I'm just start
Yeah.
there. You got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Because if there's no progress, it's just gonna be the same no matter what.
Right.
So
Right.
that's
Right.
a good progress that like I'm doing a lot of scenes that it's just like Kendra is having sex with a janitor or something like that. You
Yeah.
know? It's not labeled as like a black person. So
Yeah.
it's like a slow grind from there, and then boom, maybe it starts somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. We gotta. Yeah. Everything starts somewhere, but I definitely see things change, and I think it's a good thing.
Yeah.
What do you have any secret talents or hobbies that any people don't know about?
I'm really good at the game Super Smash Bros.
I have no idea what that is.
Yeah, it's a game me and my roommate play like an hour a day.
What is it?
It's a video game.
Oh,
It's-
okay. I don't
yeah,
play
it's-
video
Yeah,
games.
yeah. It's fun. though.
Terrible. I'm so
I
boring.
I read a lot of manga on my free time, which is not many people know. It's pretty like One Piece, Bleach, Naruto, Berserk. So all my manga people.
Wait,
they
what's
know.
manga again?
It's like before it turns to like anime, like a cartoon. You like write about like a book.
Okay.
Like you have a book and then it becomes like a movie. Like manga is like the written part of it before it becomes a cartoon. Like do you know Naruto? Like the cartoon, the show? Okay. Okay, all
Am
right.
I showing my age? I'm like, what the fuck are you
Okay,
talking
what
about?
cartoon do you know? Like do you know any cartoons?
South Park?
South Park. Okay.
Family Guy?
Let's just say South Park. But before South Park became like an animation,
Uh-huh.
there was like a storybook about it. Like it was
Okay.
written in like pages like as a book form.
Oh,
And
okay.
then years later, based on the popularity, it became a cartoon show.
You mean like a comic book?
In a sense, yeah.
Okay.
So I read like the comic book versions of the shows before they become shows.
Okay.
It's pretty much like reading a book before it becomes a movie.
Okay.
So I do that.
Yeah, my boyfriend likes comic books. He's always trying to get me to read them, and I'm always like,
Yeah.
Like,
I just started hot yoga, which has been really good.
yeah.
Because I don't dream a lot. And then after I did hot yoga, I dreamt twice. And I was like, holy shit, this is for me. So I'm going to
Do
do
you
it.
feel like it's opening up like your spiritual
Just
planes?
a little bit. Because I'm not really too into that, but like my girlfriend is. Like
Uh-huh.
she sages and do all these other different things.
Oh,
I'm just like,
wow.
why not? I'm getting older. Let's try
Yeah.
new things. So it's like, trying to like.
Meditation is a really great tool,
I need to do that, but
especially as you get older.
I haven't.
Okay, so I'm actually going to recommend something, and yes, they sponsor my show, but to be honest, they're really great. It's called the Calm app. So Calm, like CALM.
Yeah.
And it's an app that you buy, and they have guided meditations on there. They have like soothing music, and it's really helpful because meditation is very difficult to get into, and it's definitely like a practice that you have to like train your mind. And they have like all different meditations. They have meditations for like beginners. You can start with like a 5-minute one, 10-minute one, like build up. They also have like different meditations for different types of like things that you're trying to achieve. Like they have like one thing I'm doing right now is like focus. So it's like meditations on like helping you focus and like
Ooh.
weed out
I need to
distractions.
focus.
They also have one on like mindful eating,
need to eat
like
mindful.
all kinds of stuff. And it's a game changer, like just meditation in general. But I feel like the Calm app is super helpful if you don't want to like go to classes or anything like that, and you need some kind of direction. You just want to do it in the privacy of your own home.
It's called the Calm app.
It's called the Calm
All right,
app.
I'm gonna join that.
CALM.
Yeah,
Okay.
I need that. My cholesterol is a little high. I found
Yeah,
out.
it's really like it's made a big difference for me. I also do sound bath meditations sometimes if I'm under a lot of stress. Those are really, really cool. Are you familiar with sound bath?
No, so you're in the bath and you just have a certain calm downs.
So it's like sounds that wash over you. That's why it's called a sound bath.
Okay.
So you go to a sound bath meditation. They have them everywhere. They have unplugged meditation, which is where I go, but they're all over the place. And they have like those bowls that they use, and they create like these different like sounds and vibrations, and you basically just lay there.
And it's really quiet.
And
you
it's
hear the
really
sound.
quiet,
So
and you
it's like
just-
ASMR in a sense.
Yeah, and you just let these sounds, and the sounds like they're of different frequencies, and they tap into like your nervous system. So it really like it's a trip.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
trip. You can like leave your body and shit. It's crazy.
That's the part of my life that I need to like focus on.
Yeah, and also, you ever done a float tank?
No.
Those are cool too. So float tanks are like this is somehow turned into like a meditation podcast. But float tanks are these like encapsulated tanks that are essentially filled with water, and it's got a certain amount of salt in it, like how like the Dead Sea you can like float in.
Yeah.
So the water's body temperature, and it has enough salt that it makes you float. So basically, once you've been in there, and there's no light and there's no sound, so it takes away all your senses. So you basically like you trip out, man. I've had the most fucked up out of body experiences in there, but they're amazing. And it's like it's they say like I don't know, an hour in a float tank is equivalent to like 8 hours of sleep or something like that.
What?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Kristen Scott was telling me about that.
Yeah.
Because Robbie, her boyfriend, he does a lot of meditation, so like they're into
Yeah.
that, and they
Yeah.
need to join that.
I would recommend it. It's
Yeah.
definitely, the mind is such like a complex,
and-
unexplored field. It's such a trip.
And porn does a lot on your mental, so like
It does.
those are things that like I
It
think
does.
you really need that.
And I think especially in today's age with like all just the chaos that surrounds us with, your job, which is stressful, and then social media and like, the hustle that we do to like, do our own thing. We're all like mini entrepreneurs. I think finding that balance is so important.
Something I forget, because like sometimes I surround myself with a lot of like other performers, is that like there's still a stereotype of porn in general. Because like I have a lot of like non-porn friends, and like they don't treat me a certain way, but they'll say certain things. Like couple of my friends came over yesterday, like, oh, I'm not gonna get in your bed because your bed is like you're always having sex and stuff like that, and it's just like my bed's just like anybody else's bed. It's just like because you're in porn, like you're a certain type of person, like you're a sex fiend, like you're like dirty in a sense, and it's just like that's the common, like for everybody who's not in porn,
Right.
some people think you're like a dirty like a fiend.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because I forget about that because I'm always around people that are open, because people in the industry are so open and just like so comfortable with themselves, but people who aren't in the industry aren't comfortable with themselves, and they'll treat you a certain type of way, and you forget and you're not used to it, and it's like, oh shit,
Yeah. It's interesting. I definitely find that I have to kind of censor the way that I talk around certain people that I know I don't need to do around like porn people. And sometimes, like the things that we say on set and the way, and, I'm never like inappropriate to people, but, like we make these jokes and we say these things that like you wouldn't say like in a corporate environment.
You gotta know your audience.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And sometimes I forget and I think like, God, if I had to work like a real job and had to be like careful what I said, and like that would be so hard for me.
That would suck.
Yeah. So what do you think is like one of the biggest misconceptions that the average porn fan has about the adult industry? Would you say like what you just
pretty much
basically
that
articulated?
they think that we're just dirty or just like very sex fiends or just like not equal value to other people. I had a coach. This was really sad for me. I had a coach that helped me a lot in track and stuff like that. And as soon as I joined porn, he stopped coaching me. He was like, "Oh, you took the easy way out." And I was just like, "Oh, that hurt," because like he's like a father figure to me, and it's just like, damn, you just like left me like
That's really
that.
difficult.
And it's just like that's how you feel. Like,
Yeah.
you haven't even talked to me about the situation. I haven't talked to him since. It's crazy.
Did you have anybody else in your life kind of cast you out because you got into porn?
Not really, because I surrounded myself around people that were like comfortable with me and just everything how I felt. But there's some like acquaintances, people that I weren't really close to, that like stopped fucking with me. But I didn't care because I didn't fuck with them in a sense anyway.
What about your family?
My family, I have a small family, just my mother and my auntie and some other people, my cousins. I love you guys. But I was like, I have only 2 family members. My family like, what? But no, my mother, she was pretty angry when I first told her. Because I told her like right before my first scene, I was like, she needs to know. And then she was just let down. Because I used to always talk about wanting to be a doctor, like a cardiovascular surgeon growing up.
Oh,
the
wow.
whole time, and then a plastic surgeon. And then all of a sudden I'm in porn.
Yeah.
And so she was like, what? I wanted you to be something. And she was like, you're not, And then, money started rolling in a little bit, and then like at the end of the day, like I'm her son. Like it was a quick turnaround. Like after like a day or two, she was like, okay, I support you. Like, whatever you do.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool.
How old are you?
27.
Okay, so I mean, you still have time to do other things with your life if you want to. But you say you want to stay in porn, right? You want to start directing and producing.
Yeah. Porn be like the nucleus. I mean, I have no problem venturing out, but like I like porn.
Yeah.
I always want to have like some kind of form of like being in porn.
What do you think your favorite thing about porn is?
Just how fully like people are able to be themselves. Just like the openness of just like, I think people in porn are like their true selves.
Yeah.
I think people who aren't in porn are just very.
I agree with you.
Like, they're scared to be themselves.
Yeah, I feel like there's something about us being like the black sheep of the entertainment industry where we are kind of like our authentic selves because like we've already like I mean, if you think about it, you have sex with other people in front of
Yeah,
a camera. That's kind of one of the most intimate things you can
yeah.
do. So it's like you're already putting everything out there.
And I'm being judged by it. Like
Yeah.
my most intimate thing,
Mhm.
I'm being judged.
I feel like there's a real lack of pretense in people in porn than there are people in other industries.
Yeah.
I used to shoot for Playboy, and I found that not always, of course, but a lot of times people would ask me like, "Oh, what do you prefer, like Playboy models or porn stars?" I'm like, a lot of the time I prefer porn stars because they're so much less uptight,
Yeah.
and there's so much more just like their authentic selves, and they're more open, exactly like you said. Because I think it's kind of just like once you're having sex and on camera in front of people, you're just kind of like, well, here I
Well, yeah,
am.
this is it. I
Here's
can't-
my vagina. Here's my penis. I'm just gonna like let it all out there. And
Why hide now?
Yeah.
It's like, so
yeah,
I like that part of porn.
yeah. I think the people in it are really interesting and dynamic and authentic. I had John Ronson on a couple weeks ago, and one thing that he said about people in porn that I love, because he's a journalist, so he comes from like totally outside the industry,
Yeah.
and he came in not really knowing what porn people are going to be like. He's like, porn people are like, they're just like like characters in an off Broadway show. They're just like interesting and like kind of quirky and like maybe don't really fit into the mainstream world, but like there's something so lovely about that, and they're all just like super interesting. And
Yeah.
he's like, and he always having felt like an outsider since he was young, felt like he like fit in with us, which I thought was super cool.
Yeah, see?
Yeah.
People who are normally like outsiders can be like join the porn world. Like,
Yeah.
I don't feel like an outsider.
Yeah.
I don't feel judged. I don't feel like I'm being made fun of for being me.
Yeah.
Because we're all just being ourselves.
Yeah, there's a lot less judgment in the adult industry,
Yeah.
especially now, like as the internet has opened up things so much and like different kinks and all that stuff. And so, you can find a home for like whatever you're
You can
into.
find a community. Like if you like to piss on people, you're like, oh, there's like 18,000 people that like to piss on people as well.
It's so true.
And it's like, holy shit.
Yeah, it's so
I thought I
true.
was the only one.
Yeah, you're not the only one.
Yeah.
And there's something really like gratifying about that, knowing that you don't have to feel ashamed about what
Yes.
you're into.
Yes.
Which is really lovely, because I think a lot of people spend so much of their time like living in this sense of shame, and that's just like a really awful way to live.
It's because you're not being yourself, and
Yeah.
you're taken away from growing. You
Yeah.
can't grow if you're just like trying
Yeah.
to like you're arguing with yourself every day.
Yeah. So I think case in point, porn people are just better. I think that's the
Yeah,
conclusion
I
that we
agree.
just
I-
reached.
I'm gonna say it here first.
Well, thank you so much for coming on, Ricky. This was really fun.
Thanks for having me.
You're awesome. I'm sorry that we've never been able to work together,
Yes.
but maybe someday.
One day.
One day.
Yes.
One day. Is there anything that you want to tell my listeners about where they can find you on social media? Any plugs you want to plug?
You can find me on Instagram and Snapchat and Twitter at Year of the Ricky, YearofTheRicky. And then you can find me for like the sexual stuff and pay me some money. OnlyFans.
We like money.
OnlyFans.com/Year of the Ricky.
Awesome. By the way, I love that handle.
Year of the Ricky.
Yeah, I think it's so great.
I used
It's
to get a
really-
lot of flack for it when I first did
Really?
it. All the directors were like, "Oh, it's your year, huh? What are you gonna do when it's not your year?" I'm like, "Hey, man, it's just a name.
It's just a name.
I didn't think too much into it."
You know what? I would say that if anything, it's right now. It's definitely the year of the Ricky. Yeah.
It's the goal.
Yeah. And we're gonna close out on that awesome line that I just came up with.
I love it.
All right. Thank you so much, Ricky, for coming in.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone. See you next week. Yay! That was awesome. Oh, we gotta get a photo. Photo. I can't forget. You probably have a better phone than Ernie's. Can we use yours and can you text it to me?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay,
Ooh.
cool.